Hey writers! I'm Ingrid of Ingrid's Notes. I'm a YA author and I'm sharing my insights about craft and writing process. And today I want to talk about overwhelm, that sense that there's just way too much to do, right? When you're writing a novel, you have to think about world building and character creation and giving those characters backstories and then learning to actually listen to them and give them an arc and then give them a plot and then structure that plot and then write scenes and make sure your scenes have expectations and tension and stakes and conflict and brilliant dialogue. And oh yeah, you need to set up that thing from chapter 1 that you're going to pay off in chapter 15 and right? Your brain is just on overwhelm. There's too much to do and you just think, I'm just going to go on Facebook and mindlessly go through my feed, right? Okay, so this issue of overwhelm really made me think of this great quote by Eckhart Tolle. So Eckhart Tolle writes these books, A New Earth and The Power of Now. He's kind of a woo-woo, new agey kind of guy, and if you're not into that, well, too bad. I'm still going to give you some advice from him. These books have nothing to do with writing, but everything to do with mindset. And in that way, a ton to do with writing. So I'm going to read a quote, posted on the back, by Eckhart about overwhelm and stress. So here's what he says. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Stress is caused by being here, but wanting to be there. So what does that mean? How do we take that in and think about writing? What I take away from that is the fact that stress and what I'm stressed out about has nothing to do with anything happening right now in front of me. It has everything to do with all the stuff I'm worried about having to get done, all the things in the future versus the actual things happening right now. And the way that's really interesting in terms of writing is it means the writing itself, actually putting words on the page, is not what's stressing you out. It's when you get in your head and you start thinking about, what are people going to think about what I write? What about that part later where I have to structure that thing? You're thinking too far in the future. You're not thinking right now in the present. So how do I apply this to writing? This is the way I like to think about it. I want you to forget about all the things you have to do to write a novel. And I want you to imagine a tiny window like this. A tiny window. Everything around you, all these things happening in the world that you have to create, but there's only this tiny itty bitty window that you can see through, right? That's it. Now, when you look through just this tiny window, you forget about all this stuff and you just focus on one thing that's happening right here. So how do I use this? When I'm writing a scene, I look through that tiny window and my brain, it's going over here going, okay, I have to make sure you know who this character is. I have to make sure you know what they look like. I have to make sure you know blah, 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 right? Instead, just focus on one thing. So I usually start with something visual and sensual, like, oh, I see a cigarette in an ashtray. And then I see smoke billowing. And then I see a hand take that cigarette and bring it to their lips. And I go, oh, who is this character? Right, okay, and what are they thinking about? And what are they feeling right now, right? I let one small thing move to the next thing. And before I know it, I'm in a flow state. I'm already in the scene and I'm moving through it and I'm thinking inside the character's mind. You can do this with revision too, right? So you just have to look at what is that one tiny thing I'm looking at. Okay, one page. In fact, one sentence. How does this one sentence work? What's it communicating? Is it actually moving you into the next sentence? And is that group of sentences making a paragraph? And how is that paragraph actually communicating? How do I move through that paragraph? How does it move me to the next one, etc.? It's all about getting all of that mess out of your head and focusing on something small, that tiny little bit. So today when you write, think of it as a window. What is the one bit of detail you can see through that window, and write about that?